to try to be productive in coming up with ideas to help, to respect your constituents, to respect their voice, their desires. And unfortunately, right now, we have a particular moment in time that is greatly concerning in that this governor's constant is being consistently inconsistent. She is using the Omicron variant to instill fear in the population. What's really important right now is for New Yorkers not to be filled with fear, but to approach this calmly and smartly. Some of the earlier reports that have come out on Omicron say that it is a milder reaction than earlier strains. Past viruses that have hit the population over the course of decades and generations have resulted in mutations where that mutation is weaker than what it mutated from. It's mutating to survive. And hopefully, Omicron is a variant that is in fact milder, that we will get through this moment faster, and that the impacts of the variant are less than what we saw with prior strains. It's important that as governor, that you are candid and open with the media, with your proposals, and the media is responsible for communicating to the public what it is that you're trying to propose. And what we saw with the governor's new rollout of her statewide mask mandate is a confusion on a Friday, where for hours, members of the media were trying to figure out, who are you fighting? Are you finding the New Yorker not wearing a mask? Are you finding the business owner? Think about how this plays out for that business owner in New York City, getting hit on one end with a vaccine mandate from Mayor de Blasio, and getting hit on the other end with a statewide mask mandate from Governor Hochul. It's not government enforcing government's mandate. There's an expectation on that business and that young employee to be enforcing government's mandate. And the media isn't able to get straight, honest, candid answers from the governor as to what all this will mean. So that 16-year-old maitre d' at that business is responsible for confronting that 6-year-old and their parent for that 6-year-old's papers to prove that they're vaccinated. What happens if they don't provide the proof that that 6-year-old has been vaccinated? Is it on that 16-year-old, 17-year-old, 18-year-old maitre d' to call the police and have them arrested, removed? And who are you fining? If they don't do that, is the business going to get fined? What if they're not wearing a mask? These are questions that New Yorkers are asking. These are questions that New York businesses are asking. And you have a whole lot of different types of businesses where the customer can go to New Jersey, they can go to Connecticut, and at this time of year, when we need consistency, when we need to instill calm, we have businesses and we have New Yorkers who are deeply upset. Governor Hochul isn't looking at New Yorkers as constituents, as residents, as her fellow New Yorkers. She even went so far as to refer to New Yorkers as her apostles. When you are elected to serve as governor, you are elected to serve the people. They are not there to serve you. And as governor, while she is working to try to get more New Yorkers to get vaccinated, the way that she is imposing her policies is actually going to result in a disincentive, because one of the reasons why many people were getting vaccinated was because they wanted to return their life to normal. They thought if you get vaccinated, that you don't have to wear a mask everywhere you go in New York State. And the moving goalposts have so many New Yorkers so frustrated with the leadership that is coming out of here in Albany. It almost seems like the governor has run out of ideas that don't fit under the box of mandates, threats, fines, firings. No, we should not get rid of elective procedures. No, we should not be making a staffing shortage crisis even worse. Yes, we should have science lead the way, not politics, political calculations setting science. A person who had COVID, who has a question because they just read that study from the Cleveland Clinic or from Israel or elsewhere that says because they just had COVID that they might have immunity just as much, if not more, than if they get vaccinated. They have a question about that. They have a question about that study they read. And meanwhile, no questions asked, they are told, you have to get the vaccine anyway, or you're going to be fired. It's a lack of respect for New Yorkers. Healthcare workers who were treated as heroes turned to zeros. They were given parades, and now they are put out on the streets. FDNY and NYPD not getting a paycheck because they haven't gotten the vaccine. And many of them have questions. And they deserve at least a conversation from their government, as opposed to no questions asked. Ideas are what this governor and this government should be focused on. Not mandates, fines, threats, and firings. Let's talk about more at-home testing for New Yorkers. It is a shame that at this point, this far in, that we have been unable in this state to allow New Yorkers to rapidly get access to testing, quick answers, because that is a disincentive right now in the middle of this cold weather. To have to wait online for hours for your test is going to result in New Yorkers saying, I'm not even going to bother. That's part of talking about ideas and solutions. We as a government should be talking and working together about access to treatment, the development of more advanced treatment and therapeutics. This conversation is about ideas rather than instilling fear, disrespecting freedom, rejecting silence, and putting a lot of people out on the streets right now who were recently hailed as heroes. We're here today to call on Governor Hochul to reverse her statewide mask mandate. It was a horrible rollout. It led to more questions than answers in the hours and days that followed. Many New York counties have decided that they are not even going to comply. The governor, by the end of that weekend, last week, was backtracking, and she was punting, and she was filibustering, trying to avoid answers and accountability because clearly she made a mistake. I'm grateful for all the members of the media who are here. I believe that it's important for this competition between Kathy Hochul and Bill de Blasio to end. If they want to have a political contest to be the Democratic nominee for governor, they can settle that in their debate as June 22 gets closer. But utilizing the power of their positions, from the vaccine mandate that has private sector employees in New York City at fear of losing their jobs right now in this time of year, to 6-year-olds who have to show their papers in order to go eat at a restaurant or go to a museum or a movie theater, to this statewide mask mandate that has businesses scrambling, losing businesses, counties that are upset that they were caught off guard with little input and with feedback widely in many of these counties saying that New Yorkers just don't want it. If you're out there and you want to wear a mask, feel free to wear a mask. You can wear an N95 mask. There are medical grade masks that if you choose, as you go about your lives, you absolutely can wear. But unfortunately, this has gone too far with New Yorkers caught in the crosshairs of a political contest, not following science, between the governor and the New York City mayor. He can't leave fast enough. He's taken the title of worst mayor in America. Governor Hochul has a whole lot of New Yorkers right now saying that Andrew Cuomo 2.0 is worse than what we had the first time around. The devil you know is sometimes better than the devil that you don't know. And there are people out there who are actually missing Andrew Cuomo's style, and that says an awful lot because of how much he messed up and all the families still left in mourning. I want to thank those who are here for a few brief words. I would like to first call up Liz Joy, who is running for a candidate. She's a candidate for United States Congress. Liz, please come say a few words.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much. It's great to be here. I'm glad to be here with Lee. Look, the bottom line is this. If New York wants to be free, we need to vote for Lee, because he's the one that's going to make us free again here by putting him in office, and all of those candidates that will stand up for freedom. Look, Kathy Hochul and the man that I'm running against, Paul Tonko, will tell you that they care about children, but they support now the 2 weeks to slow the spread has turned into 2 years. We're coming up on 2 years. They tell you that they care about children, but they want to mask our 2-year-olds all the way up to age 21. They will tell you that they care about your businesses, but they're the ones that shut those small businesses down while they still received a paycheck. They didn't miss one paycheck or one benefit, but they shut our New York businesses down, our United States businesses down, and they took all of their pay that we were paying for. It was on our dime. They will tell you that they care about the police. They will tell you that they care about our healthcare workers and our teachers, but they're the ones that defunded our police departments. They're the ones that fired our healthcare workers, and we have 5 major hospitals here in the capital region that are now suffering so badly because of what they did. And they will tell you that they care about our teachers, but they have fired our teachers for not agreeing with these vaccine mandates and the mask mandates. They will tell you that they care about you. While inflation has skyrocketed, gas prices are out of control for us. Our heating and home heat on days like this are off the charts. Our paychecks have gone down, and you know what? New York are the highest paid legislators now in the nation. They will tell you that they care about you, but they are lying. They don't care about you. And we need to get people in office that respect the Constitution and that will all uphold all of our individual rights of liberty, of life, individual liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The bottom line is the government, Kathy Hochul, Paul Tonko, they work for us. We do not work for them. They are accountable to us. We are not accountable to them. We tell them what to do. They don't tell us what to do. And it's time that New Yorkers stood up. It's time we put people in office like Lee Zeldin. New Yorkers have suffered enough. And we need to get people into office that have integrity and moral character. And Lee has that. And I will do that at the federal level as well. We need to get people in office that don't just look at the Constitution and think it's a piece of paper that they can trample on. But when they look on it and they take their oath of office, they remember those words. Lee will do that, and I will do that. Thank you so much for having me here today. Let's make New York free again and put Lee into office. And let's put joy back into our country and into our state. Thank you.
As soon as the governor's statewide mask mandate came out, I saw a notice that was forwarded to me from a local school district where the mask breaks that they built in during their school day for their kids had to get pulled. So there was going to be no more breaks at all. And they've been wearing masks for almost 2 years. It's important that one, the state does not go back to remote learning. But two, if Governor Hochul wants to keep our kids in masks Monday through Friday, from very early in the morning until the middle of the afternoon, I think the governor should try that out herself. And she should have no mask breaks. She should go the entire day, Monday through Friday, from early in the morning, go several hours, and get a feel for what these kids have been going through. We've seen the pictures of Governor Hochul showing up at schools where she's not wearing a mask, but the kids are. Somebody who's been a champion, a great leader in this effort, fighting for our kids, is Jeff Thomas. Jeff is someone I have a great respect for. I'm thrilled that he is here. And I look forward to hearing a few words from you at this time. Jeff.
Hi, I'm Jeff Thomas. I'm a local father of 4. I started a group called Unmasked New York School Children Now back in May out of sheer desperation. I was hoping to a politician or a leader or someone would come rescue our children and get them out of these masks. I saw my children declining. No one came, so I started a group. So I thought I'd get maybe 200 people. We grew to 20,000 people in a very short time. Our children can't breathe in these masks. They're suffering. The masks do not work. And I know that because I have the science on the masks. We have a lawsuit in federal court that we have brought probably the best experts in the world, but definitely in the nation together, that have proven the science, and it's part of the record in New York in federal court right now. The masks are making our children suffer in many different ways, physically, psychologically, and socially. The masks cause their carbon dioxide levels to raise 6 times the acceptable level of an adult in the workplace. That's horrific. It causes their oxygen levels to go down. Masks are dehumanizing. They live in a constant state of fear. Let's think about what our kids might think about on a daily basis. I can't breathe in these masks. The adults are making me wear them. I want to take them off. I can't. If I breathe this air, it's going to kill me. They live in a constant state of fear. And these masks cause infection from bacteria, fungus, and mold. They're strapped to their face all day. It's a horrific scene. And we're going to, hopefully our lawsuit will be, will prove worthy to the judge in federal court, and the kids will be released from these masks. But it's a horrific scene, and I hope that we're very blessed to have politicians and people running for office like Zeldin and Liz Joy. We're very thankful. We pray, all of us pray very hard for our children to get out of these masks. Please, thank you. You've helped me so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jeff. And I also want to acknowledge that we have Randy Bashmiller here, who is the chairman of the Albany County Republican Committee. Randy, thank you. And we're next going to hear from Abby Ballard, who is a local mom.
Hi, good morning. I drove down here to Albany just to stand and support. Had no idea I'd be in front of a podium or a microphone today, so I'm going to wing it. This has been 2 years of psychological warfare. We have shut down businesses. We've watched people languish over the past 2 years. Once Governor Hochul took over, I have to say her performance has been abysmal at best. I don't know how someone sleeps at night knowing they're forcing nursing home residents, the elderly, the infirm, the most vulnerable to languish with lack of care, with lack of staffing. I spoke to people over the weekend who work in long-term care. They have 1 nurse per 30 residents at times. Does it hit different, Kathy Hochul, to know that people are lying in their beds dying of sepsis because of bed sores? Is that less of an issue for you? Our kids have been masked for 2 years. They are looking at us like we are the biggest idiots on the planet as they run back and forth on basketball courts with masks hanging off their chins. If you think our children are not suffering because of masking and forced isolation, you're wrong. A mother's heart knows better than this, Kathy Hochul, and as a mother to mother, I am ashamed to live in a state that's being led in such a manner. This is the same state that is releasing violent predators into our streets with its failing crime reforms. This is the same state that during the height of a pandemic took it upon itself to legalize prostitution, aka human trafficking. This is the same state that a couple Fridays ago decided to tell business owners that they were going to be the strong arm behind another feckless mandate, causing all kinds of anger and hostility where it's not needed. This is an utter failure. And I'm going to speak to our entire nation when I say I am so sorry for the example New York is right now. Please stand with us. Please stand by us because we're being ruled by complete degenerates. They do not value human life. If we valued our children's health and well-being, we'd see an increase in services for mental health. We'd see an increase in the capability of CPS and other agencies to be able to look in on the welfare of the most vulnerable, the families that were right on the edge prior to this pandemic who are careening over the rails right now. That's not happening. Instead, strap another mask on, strap 2 on. Oh, you were around someone who may have tested positive, you're out of school for 10 days, 5 days, 6 days. Can you test out of your quarantine, also known as house arrest? It depends where you live. This is feckless leadership. Our kids are suffering, our families suffer, and I have cried so many tears over our heroes in healthcare who've been treated like they're disposable, like they don't matter. They stood by us, they missed out on time with families, they endangered themselves, they reused PPE because the same administration that deemed it appropriate to plant COVID in nursing homes wasn't prepared for a pandemic, even though they had reports year after year that we needed to be better prepared for a pandemic. This is the same administration, there's just a different face on it right now. New Yorkers, you need to stand up. Those of you downstate, MTA workers, stand up, speak up. You've been made to run basically a mobile daycare for the mentally ill and criminals for the past 2 years. What are we doing to sanitize mass transit in New York City? Let us know. There's no common sense being implemented. We should have facilities specific to COVID patients by now, but instead we throw out some of our most capable, most talented medical workers. We throw them out and we treat them like they're disposable and like they're outsiders. I don't know how leadership could get much worse than this. Merry Christmas, Kathy Hochul. I don't even know what to say to you except you're a disaster. You're an absolute disaster. We love our kids far more than to just lay down and watch this play out. It's not going to happen. And if you think for a second that as we watch Cornell University get shut down because its fully vaxxed campus has a major outbreak, and you think that we're gonna be forced to put an injection into our children that's proving to be pretty well useless, you've got another thing coming. My kid is not gonna be the second phase or the third phase trial. It's not working, the house of cards is falling. Wake up, New York, and those of you that are awake, it's time to stand up because the time is now. There's no turning back if we allow this leadership to continue. That's what you get when you put a mom who's completely fed up in front of a microphone. I love you, New York. I love my kids. We have to fight for them, period.
Any questions?
So, nobody wear masks again. But on the way here, I was listening to the news, and some countries in Europe are shutting down. And I guess, like devil's advocate, the governor should say we have to do this, we have to shut down. So, do you buy that that's coming here and it's going to get worse?
Omicron appears to be highly contagious. It also appears to be, from earlier reports, a milder reaction. The peak period in South Africa, which was the epicenter of Omicron, appears to be about half the time, as long as the peak lasted of Delta. And hopefully this is something that we are able to be on the downward trend much quicker as Omicron comes to New York, and hopefully the reactions are milder. We keep an eye on hospital space in Suffolk County, where my congressional district is. We still have a lot of available hospital beds. We still have a lot of available ICU beds. And if Omicron is in fact causing a milder reaction, hopefully this is something that does not test the limits of ICU capacity or hospital capacity, but we should keep an eye on it. But what happened was because of Omicron, as the justification, that's when de Blasio instituted his vaccine mandate. Using Omicron as a justification, the governor instituted a statewide mask mandate, but it's not following the science of what we're seeing from this variant so far, and hopefully it is in fact milder. And also it's going to be a deterrent for getting people to want to get vaccinated if their life isn't going to be returning to normal any faster. For many people, they thought if you get a vaccine that their life would return to normal. The vaccine was developed off of earlier versions of COVID, and many people who are vaccinated are testing positive for Omicron, unfortunately.
Congressman, go ahead, Jim. We're seeing record numbers of cases in New York every day, and given what we know about how quickly this variant spreads, is there any situation where a mask mandate would be appropriate from your standpoint?
I don't see Albany needing to impose a statewide mask mandate at all, and I also believe that anybody out there who wants to wear a mask can wear a mask, and there are many different kinds of masks. I mean, Jeff was sharing some of his personal opinions and research that he's done, but we have medical grade masks. When you go to the doctor, they might be wearing N95 at the local hospital, and then there are others who are wearing masks that aren't doing much, to be quite honest. That's what Jeff was getting at. I mean, there are other masks that are being worn out there where might feel good, but these aren't N95 masks, and the facts, the science just aren't there. So you're asking people to just throw a piece of cloth in front of their face, as if any piece of cloth you throw in front of their face is the same, and it's just not scientific. If somebody's out there and they really want to provide themselves that extra layer of protection, there are particular masks that you see doctors, nurses wearing in hospital settings that are commercially available.
You referenced test to stay. I was wondering what you thought of having some sort of statewide test to stay for schools in place, and at the same time, should the state be providing at-home test kits to as many people as possible? Both administrations talk about doing kind of targeted zip code, I guess, in areas where cases are high, but should there be some sort of, at-home test program?
I don't think it requires government creating any type of a requirement. It's just about providing the resources locally. I believe that this is also a federal issue too, where nationally we should be working to make more advancements in getting rapid testing done more readily available for people who are in need of tests. That's something that whether you are at a local governmental level and you're working on just your county or your city, it's at the state level, or it's at the federal level. We should be much further along with testing. People should be able to, at this point, wake up, take a test at home, and not have to go wait on a line for 3.5 hours in the cold, where folks are just deciding, it's not worth it, they're not getting tested. We should be way past this point. But as far as the state level goes, just like every other level, federal, local, we should be doing more to get more access for at-home testing. As far as schools go, and I mentioned it earlier, we should absolutely not be going back to remote learning. It's the wrong answer. Our kids are sacrificed developmentally, mentally, emotionally, physically. They need to be in the classroom. They need to be in the classroom learning. We have a lot of broadband issues here in this state, and this time of year, to be making kids across upstate, where we have the biggest broadband issues, have to go drive to find somewhere with a connection to upload their homework, and they're sitting there in a freezing car and driving around late at night it's pretty insane, and the kids have sacrificed enough. I would actually say that the youngest generation has sacrificed the most of every generation during this pandemic.
Well, if you were the governor's office right now, not the mask mandate, aside from testing, what would your COVID strategy be right now for dentists and first? I guess the license was since so what would you be putting in place right now to curb that spread?
So as we were just talking about, the testing piece is important. It's also important for us to make sure we have access to treatment, access to therapeutics. We work with what we have available to us at the time. At the same time, we're working to go further. We're always looking to advance further along. It's important to treat New Yorkers with respect. It is part of the strategy to treat New Yorkers with respect. It's part of the strategy not to sacrifice the other aspects of medical needs. And I strongly disagree with the decision to get rid of elective procedures. I was diagnosed with cancer during COVID. I went for a routine checkup, and I caught it early. And fortunately, that wasn't canceled. That visit to the doctor could have been canceled. And at that time, the doctor said they didn't think that it was in my system detectable more than a few weeks. I started treatment, my body responded well to the treatment, I'm in remission, that's all great. There are people out there who have medical needs, and they've, over the course of this pandemic, been forced to put off those medical needs because of decisions made by people in government. A part of the strategy here is also to encourage people to take care of the other medical needs that are in their lives. There are people who want vaccines, okay? There are people who don't. There are people who do. And for those who want vaccines, having access to vaccines has been an important role of government. You have to study it. You have to make sure that it's safe. The vaccine process went very quickly. As you have new variants, you have people who are vaccinated testing positive. Now you have this rush to develop the next booster. I saw somebody send me a meme when I was on my way here. It was like almost like a subway card, and it was 10 boosters, and it checking off box 3. But once you got to number 10, you got a free pizza. We got to the point where people are making jokes about this. They want to. Everybody wants to trust the process. They want to trust that they have competency in government. They want to be able to trust the science. There are people who do their own due diligence. You have a parent here who has a decision to make about whether or not to give their kid the vaccine. They're going to do their homework. They're going to read the studies. They're going to do their research. They want to make a smart, responsible decision as a parent. Government has a role to play in conveying information that we're being provided, whether it's convenient to the narrative or not. I would include natural immunity as something that is understood, that's been studied. We should talk about it as a state. There are people who have developed their own immunity from getting COVID. Now, there are studies that are out there. There are other countries. If you go to Israel, they have a vaccine requirement, but if you have tested positive, that paperwork is provided as well, because they recognize that you have a certain level of natural immunity. You also have to respect freedom. You know, Liz Liz gave a great, she always gives great remarks respecting the Constitution and freedom. There are a lot of New Yorkers who care a lot about freedom. I actually believe that freedom is the most important thing to ensure that's protected. Now, it's important to have a roof over your head and food over your table. There are important priorities and focuses, needs that government needs to be focused on. But we can't ever attack freedom in a way where people feel like government isn't respecting them. Individual liberty, personal responsibility is important too. Personal responsibility is something for us to talk about. We are responsible for our own decisions. We are responsible for our family's decisions, and these are all part of the process. But ideas seem to have ended. We're just engaging in a conversation, a dialogue about. Well, you asked the question. I'm sharing my thoughts on what government can do to provide ideas to build trust, to build respect, to build up competency, and that's where we talk about testing. That's where we can talk about this research that's being done with boosters and natural immunity and elective procedures and treatments and therapeutics. And instead, it seems like some in government, like Governor Hochul, have run out of ideas, and everything falls under a box now of mandates, threats, fines, firings. And the threats even include threats of lockdowns. And now they're even talking about remote learning, and we're seeing it in higher ed, or we're seeing it with our kids in grade school. We have an issue with that, and it's just a different approach to government. It's one, and a different approach to COVID. It's one I just don't subscribe to.
Are you anticipating that the January 15th review point will or will not be the end of the existing mandate?
I believe that the governor should pull the plug. Should have pulled the plug on this after the weekend. When she tried walking it back, when she gave a 1-hour filibuster talking about Terminal 1 of JFK. Listen, by the way, JFK needs a rebuild. But the people who were there to ask questions from the media were trying to get answers to questions that they were asking on Friday. And in the meantime, you had all sorts of counties that said, we're not complying with this. So what should have happened is that the governor should just admit that she made a mistake, which she did. I mean, it seems like she knows that she did, but she's in a box. And as far as the moving goalposts go, probably be best to just put the goalposts right back where they were when she woke up Friday morning, as opposed to where she decided to place them a couple hours later. And January 15th, if she waits that long, that's one possibility. But the statewide mask mandate was the wrong answer. Listen, when we were early in this process, we had other blue state governors in this area all on the same page. You know, in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Connecticut, they were all coming up with these decisions, these announcements as one. All the governors were all behind these early decisions. Statewide mask mandate, these neighboring states, they're saying, are you crazy? At this stage, you want to go to the statewide mask mandate? Are you kidding me? For many of the same arguments that we're here talking about. So Governor Hochul, she's on an island all by herself. She's put New York on an island all by itself. I mean, maybe in a way Gavin Newsom, is trying to compete because he doesn't want to be left behind on the other coast. But New York is leading the way in the wrong way, and I think if she waits till January 15th, she's waiting a few weeks longer than she should, but definitely shouldn't keep it around further than that.
Considering the perceived absence of logic in the mandate, what do you think the motivation was?
In one respect, I mean, there's a possibility that she's getting bad advice from political consultants. I mean, I guess when she started talking about the mandate, she started citing some survey. She said something like 3/4 of New York wants this. You guys were in the room. I wasn't, but it was something like that, I was told. She's wrong. I mean, 3/4 of New York State does not want a statewide mask mandate. So maybe just not having her finger on the pulse. Maybe it's a focus on a Democratic Party primary coming up in June, and not letting Mayor de Blasio, outflank her. I mean, they've seemed to be starting up some type of a competition in a way that reminds me of the silly competition between Andrew Cuomo and Bill de Blasio. I don't know what's going on between Kathy Hochul and Bill de Blasio, but they've really gone a little too far these last few weeks. Thank God Bill de Blasio is out of office here in the next few weeks. I don't know anybody who's sad to see him go other than Bill de Blasio. But that could be a motivation as well. But she definitely doesn't have her finger in the pulse. New Yorkers don't want it. Thank you, everybody. Go get warm.
Thank you.